Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna get a little bit bloody. So first of all, let me show you a little clip. Okay, you better keep that tongue in your mouth when you're doing that effect. But to start off, we need to clean our tongue. You actually want to do that to get rid of all the yucky stuff on it, so you will have some nice detail in your cast later on. Okay, when you're done that, take a cup and fill it up with dental alginate. It has to be dental alginate, otherwise it won't be safe to put it in your mouth. And then just stick your tongue in it like that. Okay, when you've done that, you're gonna end up with a cast kind of looking like this. And I just taped the overhang to the cup like that, so it won't move that much. And to get the positive of our tongue now, we're gonna need a knife and a piece of cardboard. So we're gonna start by cutting a slit along the side of our tongue right here. That's where we're gonna place our cardboard later. So now we gotta kind of measure the width of our tongue. And then cut the cardboard to the size and try to create a wall, which we're gonna stick into the slit. When you're done cutting it to the right size, bend it a little bit so it follows the shape of the slit, and then try to stick it in there. So now when you finally got your wall in the right position, we're going to use some more alginate to fill up the rest. This will support the wall so it won't bend back, and it will fill up all the open spaces between the cast and the wall, so there won't be any leaking when we fill it up with plaster. And make sure to really cover everything. And when you're done, let it dry so we can move on to the next step. Okay, so now everything dried. But before we pour in the plaster, we need to make sure to get some Vaseline and cover our cardboard in it. So this way it won't stick to the plaster later on when we try to remove the mold. When you're done that, it's time to mix a batch of plaster. And it's okay if it's a little bit more fluid in the beginning. This way it will get into every pore and it will give you the nice detail at the end. So start pouring it in. And make sure it gets into every corner so you really get that nice detail. And here's a tip. You can vibrate the table to get rid of all the air bubbles which might ruin your tongue. Now after you let the plaster dry, it's time to demold. And there you go, you got a replica of your tongue. And here you can see all the nice and fine detail which really makes the tongue realistic. Now get yourself a wire cutter and some sandpaper and start fine-tuning the tongue. When you're finished with your tuning action, we have to cast the tongue again. But this time we don't use alginate, we're gonna use latex. And for that, we're gonna need a paintbrush, some Vaseline, and of course our latex milk. The reason we use latex is you can always reuse it. You can wash it off, you can create as many tongues as you want to, and alginate wouldn't give you that possibility. So start by covering your working surface in some Vaseline. This will make removing the latex easier. Now place the tongue on the Vaseline and start covering it in latex. And make sure to really make a thick layer so it won't rip. When you've done that, let it dry and cover it with a second layer. Now after you let the latex dry, it's time to peel it off. And there you go, you got the mold for your final tongue. So in this next step, we need to create a little tongue, which we're gonna put into the big tongue to create a little pouch where we're gonna fill in the blood. So for the little tongue, I'm just gonna use some leftover clay. And always make sure that the little tongue fits into the big tongue properly, and make sure that it has enough space to the sides so the sides won't be too thin. Now when you're done and happy with it, just let it dry. So I also fine-tuned my little tongue after it was dry. I just took some sanding paper and sanded off to make it a little bit smoother, and then I glued a coffee stick to the bottom so the little tongue won't fall into the big tongue. Now take your latex mold and place it into a glass or a cup, and then take your little tongue and cover it in some Vaseline so it won't stick to the gelatin. And next we're gonna need a bowl of our SpecialFx gelatin. And now start pouring it into the mold, but be careful, don't fill it to the top. Leave a little space since we still have to put the little tongue in it, so it creates the little pouch where you put in the blood. Now place the little tongue upside down into the gelatin, then fill up the mold a bit more and just let it dry. And here you can also vibrate the table a bit to get rid of all the air bubbles. When it's completely dry, you can take out the little tongue and you'll see the little pouch it just created. So before we move on to the next step, it is really important that you demold the tongue, meaning get the gelatin out of the latex mold. This is really important because if you don't do that, you will end up with a really big mess. When you first put in the blood and then cover it up and try to demold it, you will end up with a big mess and just ruin the tongue you just created. So make sure to demold before you move on. So now after we all demolded our gelatin tongue, it's time to pour in the blood. I know my pouch looks a little bit weird, but that has no meaning, so just take your blood and pour it into the pouch. And also make sure to not fill the blood all the way to the top. So now we need a piece of latex. You can create it by taking some latex. You can also add color. Mix them together. Put some Vaseline on your working surface. And then just paint a few layers of latex on it. And there you go, you got a piece of latex. And we're going to use it to cover up the blood. So make sure to cut it to size so it fits into the pouch on top of the blood. This will help to prevent the blood from exploding into your mouth when you cut the tongue. Now take the latex and place it on top of the blood. I accidentally made it a little bit bigger, but it works better if you cut it to the right size and place it into the pouch. Now we're gonna need some more of our FX gelatin. But before we cover everything up, take a hot spoon, I just put it in some boiling water right here, dry it off, and then go over the edge of the tongue. This will reactivate the gelatin, so it will merge better with the new gelatin. When you're done that, start covering everything up. And also make sure to cover up the edges so nothing will leak out of there. Make sure that everything is sealed perfectly, or you might end up with a little bit more blood in your mouth than you wanted to. So you can also put on a second layer, but really make sure that it's sealed perfectly. So when you got so far and everything is dry, you're finally done. And you got a bleeding fake tongue. I would recommend don't keep them too long unused. Otherwise, it could be that the gelatin soaks up the blood, and then when you finally get to the shooting day, or the trick or treat day, or whatever day, and you're trying to cut the tongue, it won't bleed anymore. So try to use it as soon as possible. Now you can also fine tune this tongue. Do you remember the white stuff we brushed off our tongue in the beginning? Now you can use some flour to add a little bit to the tongue to get the realism back. I hope you had fun watching. I hope you have fun making your own. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, see you next time.